This episode of the Turf District podcast is brought to you by Roomy. Cold drafts, flickering lights, and where's that leak coming from? If you've ever wondered what's really going on in your home, Roomy's Ask a Home Inspector service can help. Connect with a certified professional home inspector by phone or video call and get your questions answered. Roomy will let you know what's easily fixable with a little DIY or when you might need to call in some professional help. Visit roomy.ca, that's .ca, and book your Ask a Home Inspector appointment today. Enjoy the show.
Hey fellas, we ain't gonna ever back down from nobody. I don't care who it is. This is a brotherhood. And if we stand strong together, we can't be denied. If one of us goes down, we have another, and another, and another that's ready to fight. So let's hit this field and bang them, bang them, bang them. Somebody, light me up.
It's time to huddle up. It's the Turf District Podcast. Welcome back to the Turf District, where we huddle up to talk all things Edmonton Elks and the CFL. We are a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network, locally grown, community supported, and we are also a part of the Canadian Football Podcast Network. I'm Andrew, and welcome back into the district as we are meeting on an off week where we don't have anything really Elks related to talk about, but we'll find ways because that's what we do. But we are going to set up the West Final, I guess now. I was going to say semi, but we're past that. The West Final, we'll talk a little bit about those games that happened on the weekend, and we're going to be joined by an amazing guest that I want to introduce everyone to and hopefully get on to joining on his show. Before that, of course, let's get to our normal guests and all of my favorite people, the one and only Superfan Mike.
Who you calling normal?
That's fair. I like how you followed that up with the Jantlers. That's perfect.
I know.
That was perfect. Yeah, that's good. How you doing, Superfan?
No, good. It's it was a fun weekend of frivolity and football, and as long as you're not following some of my NFL team, then it's pretty good. It was a bad weekend for football that way.
Yeah.
I mean, 41-10 could have gone either way.
But the coin toss happened.
Yes, and the game started.
Yeah.
So what you gonna?
Yeah, my fantasy football is also crying this week. It's been.
Hey, I won.
Oh, look at you! Go.
I did.
I know. Actually, that's right. We're going to talk about it. With the all district semifinal.
In the semi.
Yeah. I don't know. Hey, you went to the fan event on Saturday.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that before we get into too much else.
It was pretty fantastic. We got there. There was very little lineup, actually. A lot of people are still either keeping it away, or I think the Oilers had their locker room sale at the same time.
Right.
Only downtown, so that was a little tougher. It took a hit for the attendance, but we got there. There was about maybe 15 people in front of us. Went up and got to talk to and get autographs by Matt O'Donnell, Kwaku Boateng, and the legendary Gizmo Williams. And again, when we left, there was no one in the line at all. So, I mean, in some ways, that's a little bit worrying, and maybe should be some alarm bells for, if not the team, the league in general. But I think there's certainly some reasons why it happened. So hopefully the next time it's a little better. And then we got into the store and everything was 25% off, except for the stuff in the back, which was clearance, and got some smoking deals on some stuff. So
Nice.
Yeah, all around, it's going to be another green and gold Christmas. So yeah, all pretty good.
So just like every other year. That's
Right.
right. Why break
But
the
more,
tradition?
because it was cheap.
No.
Never pay retail.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, you have somebody that reminds you of that often, which is awesome.
Yes. All
That is fantastic. That's good. Did you ask Kwaku to show you his hula hoops?
No, I did not.
Well, I'm disappointed.
Yeah, well, I don't really know if I'm a hula hoop worthy.
Oh,
Let's just go with
well.
that.
Do you know who wants to see the hula hoops? Commissioner
Tell us.
Kayla. That's who wants to see the hula hoops, right?
Yeah, I don't. Sure. What's the connotation behind
You're
that?
not
I
under
feel like
oath.
that could go a lot of ways.
Want to see Kwaku take down the quarterback?
Oh, yes.
Oh,
See, there we go.
nice,
Yes,
nice,
yes,
nice
absolutely.
recovery, super
Yeah.
fan. Oh,
Oh.
that's fantastic. Yep, that's very good. How are you doing, Commish?
Yeah, good. Good. I mean, I feel the pain of the NFL as well. My team was horrible. Yeah, very, very horrible. It was not a good football weekend. And then I feel bad because I completely forgot about the games yesterday. So I had to watch them after the fact. But yeah, we can talk about that later.
Yeah, we could.
So
Yeah,
all
exactly.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. I love
yeah.
your background, though. We've all been commenting on how it looks like you're so sparkly. You have like a little halo. It's
Y-
I don't
lovely.
hear Andrew.
Yes, but it's very close. So I'm just gonna push it back a little bit. Yeah.
All right then. Well, that's better. There you go. Okay, so let's bring in our guest because we have a very
Yes.
exciting guest this
Please.
week. Now he's going to join us to talk about the West Final, which is exciting. And he's the host of the brand new this year Let's Go Bombers podcast, and of course a Bomber super fan. It's Zach Schnitzer. Did I say that right?
You nailed it. I was going to preempt you, Andrew, but you nailed it.
It
I'm
is
impressed.
Zach.
Yeah,
Okay, good.
that's what I was worried about. Yeah,
I thought you were going to say Zach or
I,
something.
I did toy with it, but then I thought, no, I'll leave it like that. But welcome to the district, my friend. We're
Thank
glad to
you.
have you on. And before we get too far into the game and all those types of things, I just want to, whenever we have a fan on, we kind of ask first some of how they got to where they are. So go back and tell us, when did you first get introduced to football, and when did you become a fan?
Wow. Okay, this is fun. So actually, it's funny you ask. Tomorrow night, I was invited by the Bomber office because apparently it's our 25th anniversary of having season tickets.
Oh, awesome.
So,
Nice.
which means we must have started. My dad and I and our his buddy Fred and my good buddy Damien started in '96 in the old stadium. So we go the four of us, and we go for years, and so that's where it started. And then so I was always born and bred a Bomber fan, and of course I have ever so fond memories of the 2001 season and '07 and lots of heartbreak over the years. But always watched with my dad. And then I moved away a couple times and always came back to Winnipeg for some ungodly reason. But whatever. Here I am. I love it here. And so I just I guess when I moved away, I really connected even more with the Bombers because I guess I was missing home, and it was always, I'm not going to be cheesy here, sorry, but it was always something with my dad and I. You know, he was just an absolute nut, but he was also extremely pessimistic. So he was always like, oh, they're going to lose. Oh, they're going to lose. To the extent that like the people we watched with, like our neighbors, friends, they would just tell him to shut up. And so I that's in my blood. So I'm trying to work on that because I watch with my mother-in-law and my father-in-law, and they always tell me to shut up, Zach. Like we drop a pass and I'm just like, oh, it's all over. Just like 2000. Just like Kevin Glenn broke his arm,
Yep.
blah blah blah. So anyway, long story short, I was always a fan. I'm the guy in any circle I'm in that, oh yeah, he's the obsessed Bombers
Yeah.
fan. Like he's the guy that reads the forums, he's on Facebook, he's listening to all the CFL podcasts, post game, rewatching the game. I go to every game. Like I really build my life around it. So unfortunately my dad passed in 2017. He had a chronic illness, and I think that's also a way of keeping his memory alive. Like I'm just always thinking about him, especially when I'm watching the games, and I have his voice in my head, like, "Oh, Zach, they're gonna crap the bed again. Just watch." And it's just like, "Shut up, Dad." So then they win the Grey Cup, and I was there for that game, and that was just, it actually, if you can believe it, it actually still hasn't sunk in that they won. Just the years of ineptitude, and I feel for where you folks are at. You had a house
Yeah.
cleaning. I mean, I was surprised. Like I thought, I was pretty sure Brock Blunderland was going to go. That's what I call him. And I thought Elizondo would go. The president, I don't know if he kind of got a raw deal, but I mean, that was us in 2013.
Right.
And so, I mean, we've been there. We've been there numerous times.
You should try
Anyway,
podcasting
so
during
I
that
was
time. That's-
well, that's why, like, I'm impressed with you guys and the Mouchoir podcast. You know that you're going strong, because it's hard to be a fan when your team, and especially because Edmonton. I mean, Edmonton was picked by some of our local media to be in the Grey Cup.
Lots of people said that.
And when I saw you guys on the schedule 3 times, including a back-to-back, I was like, oh, that's going to be tough.
Not so much.
With the roster you have, yeah.
Look good on paper.
It looked great on paper, right? So anyway, so I was always a fan, and then I listened to the Blue Bomber Talk podcast, John Hodge and Tim Hodge, and I really enjoyed it. And they kind of went dark after the Grey Cup. I know John is now really involved in 3 Down Nation, and so I was like, I wish we had a podcast. And I just keep thinking that, and keep waiting for someone to do a podcast. And then I was like, maybe I should do a podcast. But then I thought to myself, I can't do a podcast. Like I couldn't I'm not good enough. So what I started to do was just put out like little feelers with family and friends, and I would kind of I would try and bait them. I would say, oh, wouldn't it be? Can you imagine if I did a podcast? Nah. And some would be like, yeah, that'd be dumb, Zach. And I'd be like, yeah. Like, damn it. And then other times you'd be like, well, I guess you. I mean, anybody could do a podcast. So anyway, so it's sort of percolating, and then someone told me about Podbean, because I'm terrible at tech, but they said, oh, you just get Podbean, just press play, and I was like, okay, that sounds easy. And then I brought sorry, this is such a long-winded answer.
It's all good.
Just when you go like water ski and you go like this, like cut it off. I'll watch for your. Anyway, so I take my daughter to the Banjo Bowl. She's 6, and this is a disaster. Like, I should not have invited her, but once you tell a 6-year-old you're going to take her, you have to take her. So I was like, so not only did we crush the Riders, of course, our bitter rivals, in the game, but she stayed the whole game.
Wow.
And she didn't throw up. And I gave her so much food just to keep her happy. She didn't throw up. She had the best time. I was over the moon. She got a picture with her hero, Bomber Vixen, who's one of our super fans. Shout out to Bomber Vixen and Bomber Reaper. And so it was epic. I had a couple too many. I come home, she goes to bed, and I'm just like buzzing. Like, as you guys know, it's like your Labor Day with Calgary. You win that game, and we swept them this year, which almost never happens. So I was just on cloud 9, and I basically just pressed record on Podbean, and I listened back to the first one I did, and it was awful.
Well, Mike can attest the first one of
awful.
ours was a tad painful as well, to say.
Hold on to those, because honestly, you'll put it like 5 years from now, you'll just look back and go, oh my God, look how far we've come.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right. Well, that's how I kind of sustained myself. I was like, you know what? As long as I'm learning a couple things each time, so and I did have the sense to know what I didn't know. So I reached out to family and friends, and my mom was like, "Oh, amazing! And you talked about Dad, and you'd be so proud, and I loved it." My buddies were like, so you should call your podcast the Legendary Podcast, because you said the word legendary like 30 times.
Absolutely.
I can feel this.
I just repeated myself so many times. It was so bad. Anyway, so luckily I got some technical help with someone who actually works at a local community college. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I will pay you, like, please. And so he helped me out, and I would send him clips, and he'd be like, Yeah, did you actually listen to that before you said to me? I'm like, no, why? Sorry, Dad. Anyway, so it's kind of just evolved, and now it's at a point where I can actually edit it myself, and yeah, I'm learning some tricks here and there. So yeah, that's where I am now.
That's fantastic. And trust me, I listened to your show, so I knew the answers were going to be long. It's all good. It's all good. I was prepared. Yeah, it's like I've done this before.
It's true. He did his research.
Yes.
Exactly. So I've been known to have a few items in the collection kind of thing. So
This is your second drink, I see.
exactly.
Very good.
And so I always loved finding out other fans. I've got a lot of friends that are bomber collectors, like super heavy duty collectors. Being you and your dad being such big fans, do you have any sort of mementos or souvenirs at home that are sort of stand out to you?
Oh yeah, so he had kept all our season tickets. Going so I know like the taglines from every season. Like one was like "Believe in Blue," which wasn't bad, and then one was like "Blue Revolution," which was terrible. So I have all that stuff, and then I've got all his old T-shirts and jerseys, and so I've got a few things like that for sure. And then when we won the Grey Cup, I just couldn't help it. There's an official CFL photographer, Johanny Jutras.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know if I said her name right, but she was on Twitter and she posted this Andrew Harris. There was only 10 of them, so it was Andrew Harris holding the cup, and there was original confetti in picture. I don't know what you call it, like the picture box or whatever.
Okay. Yeah.
And it was signed by him, and I was like, I need that. And she's like, it's $450. I'm like, I need that. So I actually bought that. That's the jewel in the crown for me. But
That's
compared
awesome.
to a lot of Bomber fans, like that's nothing. Like I just interviewed a guy named Sign Guy for my episode
Oh yeah.
this week, and he's well known. He heckles fans behind the visitor bench, and he showed me his man cave. Like it was unbelievable, or his fan cave. Like he's got 20 jerseys. He's got all thousands of his signs, and yeah. So I certainly am not a collector by any means, and all my stuff gets taken to the office so that it doesn't have to hang around at home.
Being that we're an Elks fan, I kind of feel like I have to ask: did that picture with Andrew Harris, did it come like with a little prescription in the corner, or was it just?
No, it was non-prescription.
Oh, okay. Just double checking.
It was
Okay.
non-prescription.
Okay, good. Just checking.
Yeah, he was holding the cup like really high. Like he was exhausted after that game, but I guess he had enough juice to hold that high. Let me tell you though, the whole AC Leonard thing this year, I mean that couldn't have been any better for us.
I bet.
Couldn't have been any better.
Yeah, takes the attention off. Sorry, Kayla.
All these Rider fans, you're just quoting them up and be like, so.
Some of them are like, well, could you pee if someone was watching you? I'm like, I guess not, but still. I mean, did you guys see on Twitter there was a picture of him, like it was in one of the games after that, and he was jumping really high, and it was something like, oh, he finally peed, so he was really light, he could jump really high, and I was like, oh, it's amazing, because Rider fans just lit us up with the Andrew Harris PD scam.
100%.
Yeah, but we're such homers. We're like, Andrew wouldn't do that. Andrew would never do that.
I'm glad you put the clarifier
I have
there.
to research this. I didn't even hear about the AC Leonard thing.
Oh, it's.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Not
Wow,
only
okay.
did he say
Used
he
to provide
couldn't pee
sample.
for like hours, and then he actually was apparently verbally abusive to the CFL drug enforcement person. Yeah.
Yeah, it cost him another
Yeah.
game
Oh.
because he ended up being
Okay.
3 games, right?
3 games, and if you look at his sack totals,
I
you
know,
if he
it's
had
crazy.
been playing, he might have been the most outstanding defensive player.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oopsies.
Oopsies. Yeah.
Ooh. I don't know if a Harris will be on this list for you because you may have dropped off out of a few people's. Maybe not yours though.
Mm.
But do you have any favorite players, current and past?
Ooh, that's good. I think when I was a kid, like most, so when I was a kid and we started watching in the '90s, this is before we had season tickets, but I remember going to a few games with Dunnigan, and I think
Yes.
he was all of our favorite player. I still have a
713.
memory of him getting ejected at the old Bomber Stadium, and he ripped a guy's helmet off and like tossed it 100 yards or something. When you're a kid, you're like, "Whoa, he's so strong!" He probably tossed it like 10. Um, and then, of course, it was Milt Stiegel, and now I would say it's a toss-up. You know, Andrew Harris is a hometown boy, and he can do no wrong. It was all a mistake. He wasn't taking team licensed supplements, and but I would say actually now it's got to be Adam Big Hill.
Yeah.
Oh,
Great
yeah.
pick.
I don't know if it's like this in Edmonton. I should ask you folks. When someone decides to, like a star player decides to put down roots in Winnipeg, we have such an inferiority complex that we're like, wow, he's living here now. And like he stays through the winter with his family, and like he's got a financial management business, and um he's so friendly. Like if you ever meet him, he is really a class guy, and he's put down roots here. So and he has a workout program, and Bomber Woman Tina, who was on the show a couple times ago, she does his workout.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
he's got a whole workout program. So I think he's just a really classy guy, and he's also just an absolute animal on the field.
Yeah. I'm not going to argue with you there. Yeah.
I can't blame ex-Saint over there, so I can't blame you.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. There you go.
That's the connection.
Although I hate him when we have to play him. I hate him. I'm like, freaking Big Hill, man. Oh, every time.
he is like a heat-seeking missile. Like he hits people so hard. And I feel like he's a mini Mike O'Shea, like
Right.
middle
Actually,
linebacker.
That's a good comparison. Yeah.
Yeah,
You're learning right from him.
and
so
I
it
love
makes
Mike
sense.
O'Shea, of
Yeah.
course.
Of
Yeah.
course. Of
Yeah.
course.
Yes.
Oh, my next question you already answered. You already told us why you started recording the
Oh,
show and
sorry.
why you. That's okay. That's all right. It's all good. So, Mike, you're up.
Oops.
Excellent. My
Last time
turn.
having this joker on the show.
No, it's all good. So I mean, our first season of the podcast was 2015. Pretty big season for Edmonton. We did get the cup that year. Yay!
I was
in
there.
Winnipeg.
I saw
no
you guys win it at IG Field.
Yes.
Yeah, so did we. It
It was
was,
amazing.
Oh, you
it was
guys
my
were
first
there.
time in Winnipeg, actually.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, it was
Yes.
cold, eh? That was
It was-
cold.
It was chilly.
Oh, it was a lot warmer at the end. I don't know what about something
Yeah,
about winning,
yeah.
right? So we loved it because the fan interaction that year was great. I mean, we were playing so well. Riley was injured. He comes back, and
Yeah.
we win the last 8 games of the season, etc. So those interactions for us are kind of what made the podcast, right? Being able to talk with other fans and everything else. How have those interactions been for you on your show? And do you have a favorite guest so far?
Oh, that's a tough one. You know what? Like the way it started was I had been on Twitter before, but I was sort of casually on Twitter. But when I started the show, I was looking at, kind of getting the show out there, and what I noticed was that Twitter is like a CFL hub for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
Is that fair to say?
Absolutely.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely.
I'd
That's
say,
how we
yeah.
grew too. Yep.
Yeah, and so I just noticed all these fans that I'd seen on TV or at the stadium, and they all had these crazy costumes. So I honestly just reached out to them, and they were just the most welcoming, fun people. They've been a huge support, and like I told you, my daughter was coming to the Banjo Bowl, so I tweeted out to Bomber Vixen and Bomber Reaper and Bomber Woman and Sign Guy. I was like, "Can my daughter get a picture with you? Maybe not you, Reaper, not the first one because you have a skull mask, but like,
Yeah."
And they were like, "Oh yeah, bring her by," and like they were so nice. They give out prizes to kids and stuff. Like they're just the warmest people. So the fan interaction has just been phenomenal. And what they don't know is I really just started the podcast to make friends. And now I've made some friends. It's like, oh, this guy's cool. He's got a podcast. But like, if I reached out to them without the podcast, they'd be like, no, I'm not talking to you. I don't know who you are. So they've all been good. I have to say, there's not a favorite, but I have to say, Tina really knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
So she's a fitness instructor, and then she does Bomber Woman, and she really like just her understanding of or her connection to the players has been really really cool. Like she promotes the players' music. Like Brandon Alexander does his own music. Of course, Drew Wolotarski does his own music. So she promotes them, and Adam Bighill, and she just really appreciates the players. She understands the sacrifice that they put in to come up here away from their families. They don't get paid much, and she had a troll. Like she had a troll, and she has them often on Twitter and social media, just saying, "Oh, you're just doing this for attention," and it was because she's a woman. Like none of my male guests get that, and just the way she responded was so classy. Like I like she didn't respond right away. She waited a day. She just said, people who act out of hate and make personal attacks, it's not acceptable. I hope you find healing in your heart or something. I was just like, oh my God, Tina. Like I would try and find where that guy lived, and I'd egg his house. Like I'm not above that. And so I thought that was cool. And then I got the most downloads ever from her episode.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of women fans of the Bombers. The Bombers do a football clinic for women where they get to do drills and meet players and see some of the strategy. So I think Tina really, really stood out, but they've all been great. Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh, now I want to meet her. She sounds like a gem.
She might
great on
be
Twitter.
coming. Well, she might be coming to Grey Cup. But yes, you folks will have to come down next year, maybe to an Elks game, away game or something.
Ooh.
We'll have a gathering.
Turf District road trip.
I still haven't been
Yeah.
to IG Field, right? Yeah, that.
You haven't been to IG Field.
No, not yet.
It's
like I skipped over the prairies. Like I've gone all to the prairies, skipped Winnipeg, and then headed east.
Can't imagine why you'd skip Winnipeg. I mean, come on. We have the Forks and
Hey,
Forks. What else? Yeah, just the Forks.
so the Forks.
Yeah.
I'm sold.
It's lovely.
Totally sold.
I'm waiting until they get the spoons, and then I'm gonna go.
That's
Oh,
Crosstown
yeah.
traffic.
See,
Oh wait.
A spork?
brilliant.
Would that work?
Sporks is close enough. Sure, I'm good with that.
Forks.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I should have the
Whenever you have
spoons play
like
the
a
forks.
big family event and you invite family, like a wedding or whatever, they're like, "Well, what should we do during the day?" I'm like, "Go to the Forks." It's just where the Red River, the Assiniboine River meet. I mean, it's nice. Well, we do have the Canadian Human Rights Museum there, so that's
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't
That's,
there a really rad museum there?
there is Winnipeg's a very cool place. I will say, I love it, but I'm biased because I have to live here. So anyway,
It's no Regina. So.
no, it doesn't hold a candle to Regina. Yeah, thriving
Yeah, it
metropolis. Although Regina does have a nice legislative building, I will give them that.
But no,
They doesn't have Golden Boy though.
No, they don't have a Golden Boy, and they don't have a Golden Boy fan. And okay, I gotta ask.
He's awesome.
I gotta turn the tables on you folks. I was asking Safamad last episode, do other teams have super fans who dress up, or is that just
Oh, yeah.
Winnipeg?
oh no, we do.
Nope,
Yeah,
there are.
absolutely. Yeah,
Do.
yeah.
So-
We have. What's Mike's name again? What does he go by? Not Superfan Mike, because Superfan Mike is just Superfan Mike.
He's right there.
in
He
the
doesn't need
full
to dress.
in the full armor. Oh my goodness! Why can't I remember?
Lord Touchdown.
There we go.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's amazing.
yeah. And he comes in like
Yeah, full suit of armor.
suit of armor. Like it's unreal. Yeah.
There's a guy that dresses up as the Grey Cup.
Yep.
What? I haven't seen him.
He's awesome.
Yeah. And there's
He's there every Grey Cup.
Yeah, and then Mappy always comes with his big fro going on.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
And then there's the guy that has like the green and gold like bumblebee mask too, right?
Right.
Yeah. So
Oh,
yeah,
great.
there's a few of them around for sure.
That's great.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That's great. Maybe it was just Saskatchewan doesn't have them, which surprised me. Of all the
Oh, they got the
teams.
guys that dress up as Kiss, only with green and white makeup.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
of course, Saf.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, doesn't Steph dress up as like? Well, he used to do Darth Maul. I don't know. Does he still?
I don't.
oh, he did
Yeah, I
say
think so.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him do it for a while. That's for sure. But
I don't think
Prairies
so.
have some crazy people.
Yes,
Yes.
we do. Yes, we do.
Have you even seen it on the Lions games? The guys that have like the spiky
Right.
armor and
yes.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
they always show them on TV, and then the guys that have like the crazy drums and
Oh yeah, yeah. No, they're pretty
Steel
cool.
full of nuts. I love them.
Yeah, we've got the Legion of Blue, which is guys that kind of, it's Bucky and another guy. They dress up like the Legion of Boom from wrestling, but it's blue
Right.
with the spikes, and then they run with El Tony Tones, who I had on one episode, and he kind of dresses up as sort of a Mexican wrestler. But he's Portuguese. I don't know, like, but they're awesome. And so the story with him, this is probably one of the best stories, was Willie Jefferson in the Grey Cup parade, and even the night that they won the Grey Cup, he somehow got El Tony Tone's championship wrestling belt that he made. And he was carrying it around, and Tony was completely hammered, and he was freaking out, like, "You can't take my belt, I got to get it back." So he was tweeting with Willie Jefferson's wife, and "It's okay, Tony, it's safe, it's fine," and whatever. So these are just fun things that happen, eh?
The stories that you just don't even hear
Oh,
is remarkable.
It's
Remarkable.
it's incredible.
I don't even know how to segue into my question from this
Uh-oh.
like epic conversation, but I'm gonna try.
Okay, you'll do fine.
Yeah. So we all have our dreams of who we'd want to be on the podcast. I'm still waiting on Fred Stamps. I mean, I think we called him like since I came on the podcast like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Fred Stamps, if you're out there.
Yeah, of
Love to
course.
have you. But anyway, so
He
if
hasn't
you had,
responded, Kayla?
I haven't even. He's not on any social medias. I can't stalk
How can
him.
you not be on social media? Do you even exist?
Right?
Anyway.
Yeah.
Go down to Louisiana and do my stalking there. Apparently, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
I'm kidding.
Road trip. Anyway.
Officer.
Okay.
Hi.
I keep getting in your way, Kayla. So you're asking me about. Okay, finish. Like
So-
who would I want on my podcast?
Your dream guest. Who would be your ultimate dream guest on your podcast? You could have anybody.
You know, I'm gonna amaze you guys. The person that I want most on my podcast is Carol Barrett.
Carol.
And if you don't know who that is, I'll tell you. So
Girl B.
Carol Barrett is the head of fan engagement. I think that's her title. She's the fan engagement person at the Bomber office. I would actually want her on more than any player. Like, she
Really?
is the lifeblood of the team. Like, I've talked to people who became season ticket holders because of Carol. She's always at the store. She always answers the phone. She will tell you if you haven't paid, and she's, "Oh, we can do payments," and like she remembers your name. She called me, like, I got to flip the coin at one of our games in 2017 after my dad died. She literally called me on his birthday and told me that I got to flip the coin, and I was like in tears. My family was in tears. I to this day, I don't know if Carol didn't have a hand in that. It was crazy.
Wow.
She's just always there. She always gives you a hug, and she's incredible. So one of my guests, Evan, he's battling cancer. The Bombers sent him a whole bunch of stuff, and he actually was a Rider season ticket holder.
Wow.
What happened? Oh.
Oh.
Zach's Twitter handle. Someone. Anyway, sorry, I get distracted. So when they moved to the new Mosaic, his family, they were trying to get tickets, and they were just not treated very well by the Rider front office. Of course they weren't. It's the Riders. I mean, they don't do anything. So this guy who lives in Brandon, which is a couple hours from Winnipeg, he calls the Bombers. He's like, well, let's give them a shot. He calls them. Carol answers the phone. She sets him up with tickets. She sets his uncle up with tickets. He goes to his first game. He wants to go buy some like fan cups. For some reason, they won't sell Evan these fan cups. So he he goes home and then he complains to Carol, "Oh, you guys, why didn't you sell me any of these fan cups?" They send him like 30 fan cups
Holy
the next week to his house.
wow.
So it's just like everybody loves Carol. She's a legend. So I would love to have Carol, and I will get Carol. I'll hunt her down. To be honest, I would actually love to get Mike O'Shea.
Wow.
Because
Good pick.
That'd be
Yeah.
if you've ever heard Mike O'Shea get interviewed, he, for the love of God, he must be the media's nightmare. He does not give them an inch. He gives them nothing. So I would love to go behind because apparently he's just a great guy to have a beer with or whatever. I'd love to go behind the scenes and talk about how he's built the culture of the Bombers and you know what his philosophy is. Because he's a pretty interesting dude.
Andrew had lunch with
I was
him,
just going to
so-
say, 2017 that was the Ottawa Grey Cup, and I went to I was at the fan state of State of the League, and good friend from the Mouchoir podcast, Janine, said, "Hey, I have an extra ticket. Do you want to come to the alumni lunch?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, that'd be great."
That's awesome.
And so we're sitting at the table, and it's we're just kind of hanging out, and then next thing you know, walking over to our table, and then grabbing a chair to sit down was Mike O'Shea, Anthony Calvillo, and the commissioner,
Whoa.
Randy Ambrosi.
Whoa.
And I'm like, how did I get to this table? Like somebody made a mistake. I don't get it. But
Yeah, right.
but yeah, it was incredible. And actually talking to Mike O'Shea was just he was he's just like calm, but he's a really nice, funny guy. He had some good lines, and we just had
Really,
a laugh, and he was great. Yeah. And it was really funny because Janine grew up a major Bombers fan, but she loves Mike O'Shea, and so she was just like, "Oh my God!"
Is that right?
It was amazing. Yeah, it was awesome. So, and Anthony Calvillo is exactly as quiet as you would expect him to be. He's very quiet.
Really,
Yeah.
eh?
Yep. Great guy, but just
Oh, wow.
super quiet. And,
Just very quiet.
yeah, and we all handed Randy Ambrosi's Grey Cup ring around the table, and we all I got to put it on. Oh, it was so
93
awesome.
Eskimos.
Ah, that's right. That's
Shouldn't have won that game. I'll tell you about heartbreak. That's the year Dunnigan got hurt, and we put in Cal Murphy's son-in-law, Sammy Garza.
Right.
yep.
Slinging Sammy Garza. We beat Eskimos handily in the regular season that year twice, I believe. Not that I'm holding a grudge.
Yeah, that's okay. 96 was a fumble.
Yeah.
No, but that's it. That's all we have to say. That's fine. Yeah.
The 96 West semifinal was great.
Oh, it was. That was a good one. Yeah. Do you remember that game?
I think we beat Winnipeg.
Wouldn't you beat us like 62-7 or something?
68-7, yeah. It was a close
That's what
game.
got Cal Murphy fired, I think.
Yeah, Dwayne Mandrusiak said he felt really bad about that because he's friends with Cal.
But that didn't stop him from, filling the cleats up with, I don't know, like 12-inch screws or something or whatever.
Only one person was caught for that, and when I asked Dwayne about that, as the equipment manager, he goes, "Yeah, that guy's a cheating bastard."
That's right.
They've got to bring Dwayne back. That would win the fans over, wouldn't it? For his 50th year.
No argument
Can't
here.
argue.
No argument here at all. Absolutely. Well, before we, I do want to talk some elk stuff, but Mike, do we have a bunch of comments that we need to get into? Or
We do have some
okay,
comments
let's
in here.
get into a bit of that, and then we'll talk some elk stuff, and then we'll finally
The
set up the
people
game.
have spoken.
I see, Zach, when I brought you on, I'm like, yeah, he always says it's an hour, but it's going to be an hour and a half, and that's how it goes.
Man.
All right.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's terrible. I really got to work. Actually, my interview with Sign Guy today, I cut him off. I was like, fans are not happy with the length of these podcasts.
Yeah. Pause button. Anyway. Okay, go ahead, Mike.
Exactly. So we got a lot of people in the chat. We've got, let's see here. We're talking a lot about weather.
Oh.
We're going to skip on the weather thing because as much as we do love weather.
Correct.
So Kim Duguay says EE green and gold is the best. Need them better next season though.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
And she does say, "Hey Andrew, finally getting to catch you live."
Hey, neato. That's exciting. Yeah. Thank you.
Exactly. So Tim is saying, hey Andrew, we have a $300,000 insurance policy. We'd like to have it back.
No, thank you.
No, I think we're good. I think we've moved in a different direction
That's right. Yeah.
from that particular
You know,
insurance
it's
policy.
all about the culture fit.
It's all about
Carry on. I'm gonna get slammed for that one, but come on.
guaranteed.
Yeah.
Winter Sun, everyone's favorite Ottawa hippie,
Yay!
says, I want it on the record that Ottawa fans were not formally consulted before the Red Blocks decided to stand the green and whites in the playoffs.
Okay, that's good. It's good because that's
So it has been mentioned.
yes. Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, exactly.
Although that was pretty freaking funny, I'm not gonna
Oh, it
lie.
was funny. All right.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
Jim Capper is talking about, of course, Zach being a 25-year fan, and Tim says, "Ooh, my 25th year for the Alouettes is next year.
Oh.
I still don't expect them to invite me to see them though." So
I think my
Ken-
25 year. I think I'm hitting 20 next year. So,
wow, that's so
Alright.
impressive.
so we're getting close.
You guys get a brick or something?
At 25, they actually have a fan wall that you get your name on the wall
Oh, yeah.
once you hit 25. So
In
I
Commonwealth,
feel
yeah.
like I'm gonna have to complain to Carol because that's a little bit better than a brick on the ground. Like people step on that, you know. Oh my god.
So Ken, on the other hand, has had season tickets for the Elkskimos since 1980.
wow,
Wow.
wow,
Nice.
41 years.
Yeah,
That's
he started
impressive.
going. Yeah, started going as a teenager with my mom, and then she transferred them to me a number of years later. So
That's awesome.
that's fantastic. Yeah, we had season tickets, my mom and dad, and we were going, but they were through his work,
Oh,
so it was never under his name. And then he left; he wasn't working there anymore, so we didn't have the tickets anymore. But yeah, that'd be pretty good too. So Patrick B. Penguin says, I had no idea the Elks had their locker room sale this weekend. Guess it was on brand for their marketing department. I did mention that it wasn't actually the locker room sale. The locker room sale I'm hearing is Wednesday next week.
Wednesday.
It will be online only.
Oh, okay, okay.
So much like last year.
Okay.
So you don't have to line up. You don't have to go anywhere. You can just go on a website, pick a jersey or a helmet or some gloves, pants, whatever, and buy it online from the comfort of your own chair. So that's kind of nice.
Well, and usually they have the rest of the merchandise at a discount as well. So
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah, just like the rock.
well,
sale,
not
so.
100% discount, although I'd be okay with that. I mean, I think I
That would be
deserve it at
great,
this
yes.
point, but I mean, I think it's usually 30. Usually,
Yeah, 30 or
yeah,
40
somewhere in
for
there.
some
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly. Yeah.
So Ken Ludwig also says that there has been, we were mentioning that the Oilers locker room sale was the same day.
Mhm.
So there's always been a history of the Oilers trying to one up the football team as long as I can remember. But I mean, I'm old enough to remember when the teams worked together.
Yeah.
They do a lot of things, like there'd be posters produced with Jed Roberts and Dean McCammon or
Mhm.
whatever together promoting something as representatives of those teams and stuff like that. And it's something I'd like to see. I mean, we've had a lot of people. I was actually talking with someone about this, that we've had a lot of people, I think it might have been Jed, come to as a celebrity guest coming to football games. We've had Roman Reigns and we've had Shannon Sharp and things like that. Can you imagine if we had Connor McDavid come to a football
Yeah.
game and put on a green and gold jersey? Like, tell me that wouldn't get the fans absolutely exploding,
And
right?
then get Kwaku to
And he
teach
already
him
is
how
here.
to do hula hoops. I mean, we'd all want to see
Right.
that. I mean, that's the important part.
I'm in.
I know, me too.
What else you got here? So I mentioned that it was there, and he said he had no idea. Whereas the Oilers sale got plastered with ads everywhere. I mean, it was very almost rushed, I think, but I mean, especially when they knew they weren't going to be having a season after like week 10 or whatever. But
Well, you know what though? I think this is my thoughts on that. I think that because the announcement came out on the Monday. Thank you again, Elks, for doing that on a Monday before we record. I appreciate that.
Yep.
And you know, and then I think they announced that event on the Wednesday, and I think it
Yes.
was just a continuation of the message that came when they made the announcement, which is, hey, let's let's make sure that we're acknowledging fans and doing things with fans and trying to engage in fans again.
Right.
And I think that's why it was like, hey, we're going to show you that we're doing more than just these moves. We're going to try and reconnect. And I think that's kind of why it ended up, it seemed last minute. But I think it was just, hey, we want this to be more than just words on Monday. And that's
Right.
where that came from.
I agree with you, Andrew, 100%.
Tim Capper says, Zach, I wasn't good enough to do a podcast either, but I've been podcasting for 20 years anyway.
Oh, wow. All right, Tim. Well, if you could do it.
Exactly. He was doing, was it Arena League, Tim,
Yes.
as well as the Alouettes podcast? So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And of course, he says, and I'm still not good enough. So
We enjoy it, Tim.
Like-
We enjoy it.
exactly.
That's right. We're on
Tim's
final
been
approach.
on many times on ours.
That's right. Yes.
And he does see 2 thumbs up for Johanny as well as an amazing photographer. So.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, that's what her name.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tim.
Kim Duguay says for her favorite bomber is former EE Willie Jefferson. So
Fair.
Oh, yeah.
Fair.
who did not love Willie when he played for us too? So just an absolute beast on the outside.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
For people dressing up, Kim Duguay says we also have the guy who dresses up as an ape too.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I
Oh.
forgot about that
Yeah.
guy. Yeah.
In fact, funny story, like we have the mascots on the sideline. Our first mascots were fans in the stands that dressed up as a green and a gold gorilla.
Mhm.
And they were called Esky and Mo.
Yeah.
And then they eventually became official, and then we started getting mascots on the sidelines.
Yeah.
That's a cool story.
Yeah.
Mike knows all
And
the
then,
cool stories.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I
That's
know
why he's a
that's
super
right.
fan.
I know a guy it's his cousin and brother that were Esky and Mo.
It's awesome.
And then Tim was saying that now that it's making him wonder how the Alouettes will do their locker room sale this year, if at all.
Okay.
And Kim Duguay finishes up with the Elks need to reconnect with us fans, and I think that's a pretty fair statement for sure.
And I think a lot of us were saying that, right? Find a way to reconnect. So on that note, I mean, we are an Elks pod. So before we get into the
Yep.
game, this week, of course, that we aren't playing in, boo.
Sorry, guys.
I'd like to get your opinion though, Zach, kind of from an outside perspective. Between the Elk season and the recent moves in upper management, like what I mean, I know you called Brock the other name at the beginning of the show, but what like as an outsider, is that the right move? Is that what you were expecting? Is that what did you think?
I wasn't expecting the president, Chris Presson, to get fired because I felt, just from an outsider, I thought, maybe that's a bit of a raw deal. And you guys were talking about this last week. He came in COVID.
Just before, yeah. Mhm.
He lost a coach. Milanovic left. He was on the hook for like what, $500,000. You get Elizondo kind of in the last minute. So I wasn't sure about him, but I think they just wanted to clean house. And I think the reason that I just noticed from an outsider is that I really started to notice the fans were not coming to the games anymore. And I see the Elks as sort of the upper echelon of CFL teams, and I put them in the category of Winnipeg and Saskatchewan. It's the community-owned teams and sort of the prairies. I don't know if you guys consider yourself prairies, but even if the Bombers suck, like fans, you still get 20,000 fans. They are going to show up no matter what. And so I saw that and I was like, that's bad. And then I saw on Twitter, a lot of fans were saying things like, the office isn't getting back to me. The game day experience isn't so good. And that's, I tweeted back and forth with one guy and I said, I know how to fix your front office. I'll send you Carol Barrett. like you need those glue people that are going to get, like that is everything in the CFL, is that Randy Ambrosi always says we're a bums and seats league, and you have to your fans like gold.
That's fair.
And so I think, you had the rebrand, you had all this talent, and it fell apart, and it fell apart badly. And so I think they did the right thing.
Awesome. Okay. Good.
Well, it's a good thing because that's what they did.
Yeah, exactly.
And now that we've got these openings with, in 2017, the Red Blacks were the Grey Cup champions at that point, starting off in that season. That's when we brought brought Sunderland into the league. Now we've got all these openings, and who's the current reigning Grey Cup champion? So, are you maybe a little worried that we might start
Yes.
sniffing around and maybe poaching some of yours? I mean, Lapo left a couple years ago, so
Yeah. And it's interesting because Lapo, I won't get into Lapo. I'll just say, like, I was happy for him. I was sad he left, but I was
right.
because he got a raw deal in Winnipeg because we had Joe Mack and
Yeah.
he fired, and everybody hated Joe Mack. And so, but back to your question, I am nervous. Like, I think it would be silly not to look carefully at Ted Gavaya or Danny Mack. We lost Ryan Rigbaden to the BC Lions. He took Marcus Sales with him. So, I think, but then again, I don't want to sound too arrogant here, but like, I'm gonna bask in it because Winnipeg is never number one in anything. We're it's kind of goes with the territory, right? Like, you're gonna get people poached.
Yeah.
And I get it, but yes, I am quite nervous. And if I was one of them, and I can go to Edmonton, which has a storied franchise, and be a GM, I mean, how can you knock someone for doing that?
Ooh, I like that answer.
Yeah.
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 Look at that! I was less
Look at
than an
that.
hour
That
and a
was
half in
amazing.
my answer, and you guys are like,
We're all,
"Stop
whoa,
talking."
wait,
Speaking
what?
of
He
talk-
stopped talking.
So, okay, this might be a little hard of a task, but I mean, you kind of just did it anyway. But put on the green and gold. Who would you
Yeah.
poach? Who would you poach from anywhere? Who would you pick as GM and head coach for the Elks?
I'm kind of a homer, so I would look carefully at because I heard people talking about G. Simon, and I'm sure he's great. I don't know how much experience he has yet, and I would look at Danny Mack. Now, I don't know if he'd want to move because I think he's got a good thing going
He's in Florida, isn't
for a
he?
variety of reasons. What's that?
Isn't
Sorry?
he in Florida?
Yeah, he's in Florida, and I don't think he wants to leave Florida. But maybe you look at Ted Gavaya. I think those are always good options. I got to tell you though, like, having Wally Buono there, Wally Buono's a legend.
Oh.
But
Amazing.
yeah,
I'm just like, when they announced it, I was just like, my heart is singing, and I know it's
hated
only
us.
temporary, but I don't care. We have
His
the
entire
Godfather,
life, he has hated us.
but he's here.
Yeah.
I know. But maybe I'm being silly here, but part of me worries that, like, I think Edmonton needs to go in a totally different direction. Like, you really need to break off with the past. You've done the rebrand. And I guess I just get, and maybe I'm being ageist, but I just think the kind of guy he is, I hope he doesn't pick some old school GM. Like, I think that's my worry for Edmonton. But anyway, in terms of coach, I keep hearing how great Mark Killam is in Calgary. And before Mike O'Shea was so successful, I was like, yeah, I don't know if I'd want a special teams coach to be a head coach. Right. But what I've heard, like, people that know way more about football than me, there's something about the special team coach because they actually are the only coach that gets to know all the players.
Right.
So they have, like, a broad understanding. Schematically, they're pretty sound, and I think they get, like, the heartbeat of the CFL, which is, the special teams and just throwing caution to the wind. And I think Kill's successful. I don't know anything more about him, but he seems to be a popular pick. What do you guys think about him?
Oh yeah, I definitely had him on. Not that I have any choice in the matter, but I had him on my short list.
They'll
Yeah.
ask
Well,
you.
they should. I mean, really. Well, they should be asking Mike. Really, he has all the history. But I would no. He was on my short list only just because he's also been in the league for 17 years. He has lots of connections to bring in other coaches, and he has lots of connections to players that love to play for him. And just on a small side note that I said last week, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but if there was any way that we could improve our special teams from catch and fall down, I would be great with that. That'd be I mean, our special teams cannot only be Sean White. There should be more to it than just Sean White. So that's.
And we might not even have him next year, so.
Oh no!
You never know.
What's happening? Is his contract run out?
He only had a year contract.
Yep.
That was this year.
Oh,
yeah. Well, he's no dummy. Signs for 1 year every year now. So
then,
Yeah.
the greatest guy on the special teams can be the long snapper, so that's good.
That's great. Yeah. Are we? Wait a minute. Are we bringing Ryan King?
Can I just say
What's
this?
going on?
Chad Rempel,
Oh,
whoever.
Sure.
Yeah, you stole Chad Rempel
Yeah.
from us. Come on.
Right out of the retirement home.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we went with somebody older.
He
yeah. After he got
actually
hurt.
he actually tried to be a comedian. Apparently, he did stand up a
Wow.
little bit. Yeah,
That'd be
Really?
interesting.
yeah. I don't know. Maybe he was trying to make a go of it. Just please don't bring back Chris Jones. Like, you can't bring back Chris Jones.
You know what? I'm in the same boat as that. Not because I don't think Chris Jones could whip the team into shape. He could, but then
Sure he
in
could.
2 years he's gone and you have to start all over again. And I don't know. I'm still bitter after 2015. Like that's yeah.
How could you not be?
Well, like I said, just
Believe.
certain. If Saskatchewan is still playing, let's start talking to the head coach now.
Sure. Yeah. Come on.
That's
Bring
right.
the whole
Seems
crew
fair.
over here. Yeah, that'd be.
That is a good answer.
I like that one.
But honestly, Jason Shivers, I think Jason Shivers is a pretty good coach.
Yeah.
Like what he's done with that
Absolutely.
defense.
Yep.
I think he's a pretty good coach.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if
They-
he's ready to be a head coach yet, or if he's just a defensive coordinator. It's tough to say, right? Like, I mean, I don't know that much about him. That's
Mark Washington.
but Mark Washington, yeah,
Mark
Washington
yeah,
and
he's
Mark
been bandied
Killam are
about.
kind of the top two that I would like to hear from and see what they think.
What about Noel Thorpe? Why hasn't he ever been given a shot? Is there something with him that he's just not they don't think he'd be a good head coach?
That's a good question. The only thing that I've ever heard is that I don't know if he has the same connection to all of the players. Do you know what I mean? Like
Although he was
Yeah.
our special teams coach at one
it's
point.
fair. Yeah, he was our special teams coach. Yeah.
Is that right?
And then
Yep.
and then and he ran a
didn't know
decent
that.
defense last year, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So I don't know about having all of the responsibility, if that would be different. I'm not sure where that lands.
Yeah.
So I don't want to get too crazy, but Mike, did you hear any new names this week, or are all these the same ones?
These are pretty much the same ones. I haven't heard anything new added to
Okay.
that, but I mean they're throwing all kinds of names at this point. So who knows what we'll see by the time we actually get to hiring. I mean they've got to hire a GM first. So the GM's going to put in that coach, hopefully before we get to February, but we'll see.
That's the hope. Yeah, exactly. Because free agency is mid-February this year.
Yeah, usually around the 10th, 11th,
Yeah,
somewhere in there.
So, all right. So Zach, you went through this, like you said before, you went through this with Joe Mack, and then now you have a championship team that is looking like it could play for a while. So what would you say to Elks fans that are in this position now, and we're waiting to see what'll happen next?
You know what? I feel for you. Because as you say, Andrew, I've been there. It's hard when your team is not performing well, and it's even harder when you kind of lose respect for the front office. And so I would say, take heart, stick with it. And you've got some good people to guide you. You've got the turf district right here. Just don't turf the team. Stick with the team. The CFL is a small league, and I heard you guys last week, and you were saying you don't want just like a quick fix.
Exactly.
Right.
You don't want to build. You don't want to build the castle on the sand, as you said, Kayla. Even though, you didn't think you pulled that line off, but I wrote it down. It was good. Build the castle on the rock, and so I think fans should be demanding that the team, you hire slow and fire fast. Like go through the proper checks and balances and due diligence and hire, to be honest, hire people like Mike O'Shea, because he's it's just those character people who love the CFL, who have integrity. I think you're not going to lose with those folks. If you can find Wade Miller, who is, he's a Winnipegger through and through. He played on the team. He's a really successful business person. He apparently kind of crotchety to work with, but he gets results. So whatever. Find someone. I don't know if it's Sean Fleming or someone who's a Hall of Famer or a Grey Cup champ who's good in the business community and I'm sure there's tons of those people in Edmonton.
There's a few of them.
So
around. There's a few of them around. That's a great answer. Thanks, man. And now, Superfan, any other comments we need to tackle before we get to some horrid items?
Yeah, there was a lots of chatter again, so
Okay.
that's nothing wrong with
That's
that.
awesome.
Where are we here? We are talking about. That's the locker room sale. See, I got to scroll back and I got to find where we were talking about. So Patrick B. Penguin is talking again about the sale. He said he went looking at the Elks Twitter feed. There were 2 tweets about the sale.
Oh, wow.
One Thursday, one Friday. I don't mean to sound negative, but come on, at least try to market.
Right.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and it certainly wasn't widely marketed for
Right.
sure. It's unfortunate, but
although they did a cool
realize
video after it happened. Like that
Yes,
video was
after
neat.
it happened.
Yeah, that was kind of cool. Anyway.
Yeah. So, and then Ken Ludwig is talking about. I think this is why the organization went with a complete overhaul of the management team.
Right.
Kim Duguay saying, "I'm glad the 3 people have left, and now it's time to find the right people to be there for us." Let's see here. Kim says, Ed Hervey, I'd love to see him come back personally, then have him as the president, and he can find the rest to be there. Other people are saying nope. A lot of people say no Jones. Patrick Penguin says, Hervey, though he was successful, I'm not sure he's what the team needs if they want to reconnect with fans. He's not exactly media nor fan friendly. Certainly, I mean, he's very prickly as well.
Yeah.
So
unless you have him
that.
one-on-one, I will say that. One-on-one.
One-on-one, he's great.
Yeah.
One-on-one
Is that right,
with
eh?
no
Yeah.
mic, he is an amazing conversation. And
I've talked to him at Grey Cups.
yeah, at 2017
Wow.
again in Ottawa, when we were on the I was on Radio Row, and Ed came by, and I went over and said, "Hey, how you doing?" And I said, "I don't know if you remember, but I run the podcast." He said, "Oh yeah, no, I know who you are." And but we had like a 40-minute conversation that was absolutely amazing, and his knowledge is absolutely there, and but as soon as you put the mic out, it's a different persona, right? But on a regular conversation, he's awesome.
Yeah, and Kim Duguay echoes that, right? She says Harvey was great with the fans. He always stopped to talk with a lot of fans.
Yep.
Lots of hard passes on Jones. Winter Sun referring to him as Chris Suitcase Jones, which I think is a new nickname that I will personally always use for the rest of my life.
I love that.
Jerry Cooper says,
Good.
personally, I say no to Jones, and as much as I liked Hervey, no to him as well. I think Zach is right. It's time to get some new blood in here.
Yep.
And I said that people forget that Hugh Campbell was new blood when he was signed with the head coaches in
That's
1977.
right.
He hadn't been in the league in 7 years at that point. He left after the 69 season and hadn't been back. And all of a sudden it's like, Hugh Campbell, like receiver guy? Yeah.
Gluey
Yeah, right.
Huey? What?
That's the guy.
Louis Huey, was that his nickname?
Yeah. He just caught whatever was thrown to him.
Yep.
Hmm.
He has an amazing record in that it was 13 years, like he was in and out of the league, but the 13 consecutive years he was in the league, he was in the Grey Cup.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, either as a
So
player
he was
or a
as
coach.
player
crazy.
66.
Yeah.
He was away in 66, 67. He was away in 68. Came back in 69, retired 77 to 82, left for the States, came back 86, 87.
Wow.
Yeah, 11.
And then he went to the Houston Oilers, didn't he?
Yeah, he went to the LA Express in 83, and then from there went to the Houston Oilers because they thought they could get him Warren Moon. And he did.
And he did.
And he did get
Ooh.
Warren Moon.
Yeah.
You are an encyclopedia.
Yeah, I don't get out
wow,
much.
you are super fan, Mike.
I don't leave the house. I basically live in this basement.
It's a nice basement from what I can
Yeah,
see. You got a cool logo there.
It does all right. Let's see. Ken Ludwig says, personally, while I would not mind Ed coming back, the team is likely not going to go that route, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Winter Sun says the CFL should be a Chris Jones free zone.
Wow. But how do you
No
really
hard
feel?
feelings.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ken Ludwig says, I remember when Jason Greger used to have Ed on his radio show every week. Excellent content, but not exactly media friendly.
Mm-hmm.
And then Patrick Penguin wraps it up with, think the team nailed it. Ed was great one-on-one, but as the face of the team, ...
Right. And that's fair. That's fair. Absolutely.
Yep.
All right, super fan. Let's do some horrid items, and then we're going to talk about a game this week.
Yeah, it's just gonna be a real short one.
That's okay.
I just picked something up in the last week, which I thought was kind of cool. In the 1970 to 72, 73, the CFL created their own marketing department, and it was outstanding. Like in every program, in Sears, they had all kinds of stuff. You could get pajamas, you could get cardigan sweaters, you could get cups like this one kind of thing. With all the team logos on it. It's called CFL Properties. Many people have seen those early 70s posters, one for each team. Those were from CFL Properties as well. One thing that was a little oddball that came out back then, and I don't know if I can wear it sideways. There we go.
Wow.
So they put out these beanies in 1971 for every team, and of course, just lovely colors, isn't it?
Oh, it's beautiful.
Isn't that beautiful?
It's beautiful.
Wouldn't you wear that like down the street, just being proud as a peacock?
That
And that's actually the second time that I know of that they put out a beanie. So this is 1970, but in the early 50s, this is a little smaller, not going to fit on my head.
Oh my.
But this is what you got when you joined the Knothole gang in 50 or 51. Like I said, it doesn't really fit on my head, but
it's still enjoyable.
Yeah, so this is made for obviously very, very little kids, and it has the Esks thing on the top there, and yeah.
Oh, that's.
But I mean, the Knothole gang, you betcha. So in baseball, it was a thing as kids would look through a hole in the fence, a knothole. So it was for kids to get in, and for 25 cents, you get to go to a game. I think you paid a couple of bucks to get your annual pass, and then 25 cents a game, and you got to sit in the end zone. And it was like Lord of the Flies. Someone would, Cutler would kick a field goal in there, and everyone would run for the ball. And if you got it, just get the hell out because you're going to get beat up. It was a great time. I loved the whole gang. And they ran that until well into the 70s, and now, or in the 80s, I should say. And now they brought it back as Brickley's Knothole Club. So it's back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was awesome. I love the beanies. That first one reminds me of the guy in Fat Albert that had it down and all you'd see is his eyes.
Yeah.
Like it totally reminds me of that. Yeah.
Weird Harold. Yeah.
Although the other, of course you know his name. Of course you do. But
I'm old.
the other part is, CFL, get back on that. I want jammies that have CFL logos on them and a cardigan.
Well,
could you imagine?
Patrick B. Penguin says Elks beanies for the 2022 home opener.
Absolutely. Oh, I'm all in.
Yes.
But have the ones with the little propeller on the top. Like,
yes.
Come on.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Lucky Whitehead can wear it. Can't we all?
Or antlers.
Oh, yeah. Lucky could wear it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Heck, I'd wear one. I'd wear one of those beanies.
Exactly. There's one for
At
every
a
team.
Bomber game, I'd proudly wear one of those beanies.
An Elks one? Sweet. That's awesome. We're going to hold you to that.
Yeah,
Okay, good. I can't wait to send Zach. Zach, give me
find
your
one.
address. I have a beanie for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And CFL stuff, please and thank you.
Yeah, actually, CFL stuff in general. Like,
Jerry Cooper just mentioned that. It's frustrating you can't buy anything that's CFL branded.
yeah.
Like something with the CFL logo, especially if they could do retro stuff.
Oh,
The old
Yeah.
helmet logo.
like,
Come on.
yeah.
Take my money.
Take all of my money. I've told you this before, Mike. They need to do the "I hope both teams have fun" with the CFL logo on it T-shirt, because for all the people who travel to all the games, then you could just have that
Grey Cup
shirt
too.
to wear into the it'd be amazing. Yeah.
I'm wearing that hoodie for the Grey Cup.
Yeah.
So
As I know. Well, I hope to be there to watch you wear it. Yeah,
That's right.
It's amazing. All right, let's get now that we're an hour and 15 minutes in, let's get to the real reason we got you on the show, Zach, was to
Sorry,
talk
guys.
about the game this upcoming. No, this was awesome. This is fantastic. Bombers, we now know, are welcoming their rivals in with the Riders coming in on Sunday. Emotional win for the Riders, of course, at home in overtime. Crazy back and forth. I mean, that first half, it was all turnover central.
Oh,
But what it comes down to a whole bunch of kickers missing field goals, which is weird for those two teams. But of course, Lowther gets the last one, and the Riders are on their way to Winnipeg. So my first question, and I know that you've answered this on other podcasts, but are you worried at all with all the time that has passed since the Bombers played a meaningful game?
Well, there's two sides, and I'll be short. I promise. I am short. I'm only 5'6". But my dad never let me play football. He, part of me, like the part of me that's the pessimist is terrified
Okay.
because it's a one and done,
Right.
and we know what's happened to the Bombers in big spots. So I'm like, oh, I'm frightened. But actually getting Castillo was a big one for us. Having it because that was that was the joke.
Mhm.
Was we didn't have a kicker and we were still blowing teams out. And so I'm not really worried about it. I don't think the time off is going to be a problem. Um, I think the culture, and I know you folks were talking about culture last time. I think the culture of the Bombers is so rock solid
Mm.
that I really am not worried. And I say that as a pessimist. I really am not. I think what O'Shea does, from what I've understood, is he's brought in just a bunch of mini Mike O'Shea's, and the culture is such that everyone who comes in, they love football. Like they eat, sleep, and breathe football. They love doing film study.
Mhm.
They love gaining any inch. They love practice. So you have these guys that are obsessed with football. They love it, and they're playing for each other. Like there's a real brotherhood that they talk about, and it doesn't. I don't think it's just blowing smoke. I think they really love playing for each other, and that's the thing. They want to win for each other, and then you have the talent. So I think they're just, and I think about Zach Caleros. He came off like a year hiatus after he got knocked out in Saskatchewan, like the first game on the road in Hamilton. He came back. He went on a 4-0 run and won the Grey Cup. He didn't even know the playbook.
That's fair.
And so this guy, I'm not worried about him having a layoff. And yeah, I think our defense is so ferocious that I think they'll set the tone early. I'm not super concerned. The offense might be a little rusty at the beginning, but I'm not super concerned. Yeah,
That's fair.
and I think the way they lost the Calgary game, I think that rubbed them the wrong way. Like that's the way Mike O'Shea is. Like he did not like losing that game, and I think they'll be fired up.
That's good.
See, I love this time of year. I love playoff football. Winter, like the run game becomes so important. You guys have such great balance on there, not only with Harris, but another local guy in Oliveira. I mean,
Yeah.
absolutely starting. So do you see the Harris this week, or is Oliveira playing, or do they, I'm still just putting it out there now. Could they put both backs in, maybe get a wishbone in there?
Ooh. Well,
I'm
okay,
just
so
saying, who'd see
I'll
that
tell-
coming?
nobody would, and there's actually been some talk about that because we won't let go the Thunder and Lightning tandem running back from the
Right.
early 2000s with Mike
Blink.
Sellers and Charles Roberts.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's just something that's sort of in the I don't know. It's just in the lore of legends for Bomber fans, and so I think if you had a Thunder and Lightning with Oliveira and Augustine, who's very fast,
Yeah.
I think fans would go nuts. That would be
You're
super
welcome for
cool.
Sellers, by the way.
Did you guys give us Sellers?
He was an offensive. He was a fullback, and we switched him over. He's a defensive tackle, and we switched him
that
over
right?
to fullback. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's such a cool story. I didn't know that. Yes, I
Yeah.
remember watching Sellers. He was just a beast. Anyway, so I think I don't know if Harris is going to play.
Interesting.
He wasn't dressed last week for practice. I don't know if they're just holding him out for precautionary, but I don't know. I don't know if he's going to play.
Interesting.
That would be tough because he's such a good blocker and he knows
Right.
all. He communicates with the O line and all that. So, yeah.
Mm.
I don't know if I even answered your question,
No,
Mike.
you did.
Well, I said, would you think we'll see
I
him
don't
play? And maybe not.
We'll keep you on track with this one then, because
Okay.
because I'm excited for next game. Mostly a little bit of like nastiness on my side, or from my part. But is there anything about the Riders that worries you, even the slightest? Like a bit of revenge they might be coming out with from last year? Like, what are you feeling in your gut? Because my heart always deceives me. It deceived me again. Montreal is out. So I want to know what's your take?
Like, am I worried about anything? Like gangrene, maybe from them. No, I'm
Minus
just kidding.
11 apparently on Sunday.
Yeah. Hypothermia? Is that scary? Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? What worries me about them is their D line. I think they have the second most sacks in the league. I think they have 47, right behind Montreal at 49. So they have a good D line, and so that can be trouble, especially if we don't come out of the gate well. If we don't establish the run game, there's been games where our run game was a bit lackluster, especially if Harris isn't playing. So I think they could give us trouble with the D line, and it's interesting because they don't run the ball, and I think that's going to kill them. You know, they've got Powell. I know their O line isn't the greatest, but they don't run the ball. But what they do is they have this quick passing game, which kind of drives Rider fans nuts. But I think you kind of need to with an O line like theirs. But I think if they can get in rhythm and Fajardo is on. I think that's a good counter to Winnipeg's D line if you can get the ball out really quickly. But the problem is, I guess, if they just don't establish the run, the Jeffs are just going to tee off, and they've figured out Fajardo as someone Steven Sawchuk, he's on Twitter, is a Bomber fan. He called him Cody Fabardo, which I thought was just brilliant. So if Fabardo has this spin move where he fakes a throw and then he spins to his left or and that's his move. And the Bombers have figured it out. So he tries it and they just take. So I think, he can also run. Like, I think that's what turned the game around for Saskatchewan. He ran, he broke sort of broken plays and he'd run. And so that scares me a little bit. But again, I think if you've got guys like Big Hill and Kyrie Wilson and Alden Darby and linebacking core, I think they'll spy him and they'll keep him in check. But the quick passing game can get them some traction, I think.
That's fair.
Yeah. And what's so annoying about the Bombers too, which is great for you, but you sometimes rely on like overconfidence, but at the same time, the Bombers are so confident, but they keep winning. So you're like, well, frick, we have nothing at this point.
It's true. It's true that they back up the confidence, right?
Aye.
Well, at least they didn't guarantee a win like Montreal.
Oh, Patrick Levels.
Well, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, all sorts of levels for him.
That's right.
All right, so Zach, give us the keys to the game for your Bombers to pull this one out.
Okay, so I think they just have to show up. No, I'm just kidding.
The coin toss. That's the key to the game.
Yeah. If they win the coin toss. Honestly, I think if they stop the run, which I expect them to, if Saskatchewan tries to establish Powell and they stop the run, and they have a spy on Fajardo because he can run, like he is a good runner. I'll give him that. I think that then the D line can just tee off on him, and the secondary is so well coached and they communicate so well that I think they can confuse. They do some pre-snap, post-snap stuff with Fajardo. I think they'll confuse him. So I think stopping the run and stopping the scrambling from Fajardo, I think that's the key on defense. Offense, I mean, Winnipeg, you know what they do. They ground and pound. Yeah. But Caleros, for me, it's actually Nick Dembski.
Ooh.
Every game that I watch, I feel like, and Darren Bombing, he's on Bonfire Sports. He does Bomber stuff. He used to be on TSN. He calls him the Swiss Army knife. And I think when they get Nick Dembski going, he just seems to be unstoppable. He can run out of the back. Like he had that run against Edmonton. Sorry to bring that up. The 37-22, and he like shed 50 players, right? So he can run out of the backfield, he can catch out of the backfield, he can run the jet sweep, he can take the top off a defense. So I think getting him going is important, and if you get the running going a bit, then you can get into play action, and I think the Lawler he's really impressed me. Because you know how the Bombers have whiffed on receivers for like 20 years. Bringing in ex-Eskimo or Elks, like a Darius Bowman and Kenny Stafford and Chris Matthews. And we tried to bring in Bryant Mitchell, an ex-Elk, right? It's nice to have a receiver like Kenny Lawler. So I think he gives us. And then you've got So I'm not so worried about the offense. I just think they got to get the run going, and then as long as Castillo is decent, I think we should be fine there.
Nice.
Penalties, stay away from big penalties. Of course.
Yeah, well, every team could do that. Yeah, that's we
Don't
know all
freak
about
out
that.
if they spit in your face.
If they don't do that. Yeah. All right, let's do our quick pick'ems for this week. I'm pretty sure I know you're picking in the second game, but we'll go in the first game first. Hamilton versus Toronto.
We got a prop bet for the second game.
Oh,
so
do we?
Good.
Oh, I'm excited.
Yes.
Okay. So the Hamilton Toronto in the 6, as they say.
No one says that.
What's that? No one says that? I'm sure they do.
Oh yeah, I hear
think
the
we should-
6.
That's so 15 minutes ago.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna get Nate on next time to tell me what that's like. He can draw out on the video. This is what the 6 is. Yeah, and I'm gonna love it because every time he puts one of those videos out, I can't get enough of it. Keep coming, Tay. He's amazing. Zach, who you got in this game?
I think you have to go with Toronto. I feel like they had they had Hamilton's number, and the game Hamilton had to win on the road a few weeks back, and for some reason Masoli just kept throwing 50-yard bombs. I don't know if he was playing possum with them or what, but I just think Toronto's the only team that beat Winnipeg straight up. I think they're, aside from a couple boneheaded things by Dinwiddie, they're well coached. They've got a really good defense, got good receivers. I see them beating Hamilton.
Oh, all right, super fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was calling for that as well. I sort of thought that Toronto seemed to play like they were made to beat Hamilton. Just seemed like that's what they said when they were putting this team together. Well, first off, they said, let's just get every player that's out there.
From Calgary.
Yeah. How many linebackers do we have? We need more.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. And receivers and everything else. So, and having the time off to be able to see what Hamilton did against Montreal, I think that's going to suit them well, and I think they'll take it. But it's going to be close.
All right.
Yeah.
Commissioner?
As much of fun as it would be to see a rematch of 2019, I don't know if I can actually visualize it happening anymore. I'm not sure. I was actually really torn. I was thinking about this all day, and I keep just coming back to an all blue Grey Cup. So it must mean I'm going to say Toronto.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Every time I pick, they always lose anyway. So whoever I pick is doomed.
Well, just because of that. No, it's not because of that. Because I just think I'm going to pick Hamilton. I think.
Oh.
I think holy Mazzoli. No. I think that if I remember correctly, and I could be wrong, but in that game where Hamilton went in and they didn't have the greatest game in Toronto, Don Jackson was not in that game. And since they started using him, that offense clicks on a different level. And you saw Brandon Banks step up to the challenge of Patrick Levels and score a touchdown in this last game. And he's starting to come on again. And there's a good chance that we see Braylon Addison back in there. And once you kind of got the killer bees going in Hamilton, you just never know. And that Hamilton defensive line played unreal against Montreal last week. So I still think it's very, very close, and honestly, it could just be a coin flip. But because you all picked Toronto, I'm picking Hamilton, and we'll see how this pans out. See how it goes.
Somebody had to say Holy Mazzoli, so I'm glad you did.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Commish. I got your back.
Thank
I
you.
got your back. All right. So the next game, we're all going green, right?
Yeah.
No, no, we're not. Super fan, do you want to tell us why the Bombers are going to win this game?
Because they're going to show up.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, how did Saskatchewan do against Winnipeg this year again?
Not well.
Remind me how that worked out?
Yeah.
No. not well.
57-17 or something was a 56-17 combined score.
Yeah, that's pretty much going to say it all. I think Yeah, I just don't think they have it. Winnipeg is so complete, like you say, with Castillo back now, having that special teams. They have one of the greatest special teams players of all time
Yep.
on the cover, and that defensive line, that offensive line is just so strong. They even have a couple All-Stars now. So, 15 All-Stars make the team this year.
Which wasn't even the record.
No, that's scary. I'm sure we had
Wait a
it.
sec. Who had the record again, Supervan?
Yeah, I don't know. Some other team.
Yeah.
I can't remember who they are.
1981?
But yeah, I just don't think Saskatchewan, this was their Grey Cup. And I think that, they'll all go back and say, yeah, we beat Calgary again for the first time and for the every time since 1971. Yeah. It's the Bombers.
All right. Commissioner?
Yeah, I can't really put much more to that. I mean,
Yeah.
that game was ugly against Calgary. I mean, it's either going to be a really big upset or just a really big slaughter. And I'm probably going to pick the latter. Not probably, actually.
It's fair.
I mean, yeah. It's just, yeah. Like I said, blue Grey Cup. So we're going Bombers.
All right. Yeah, I'm going Bombers too. I think they've shown enough during the season. I think it might be close because I think Saskatchewan might jump out in the first half, and then the Bombers in the second half will be like, "Hey, remember we're the Bombers," and then that'll be the end of that. So I think that goes. Zach, tell us why you're cheering for the rectangle this time.
For the rectangle?
That's the shape of Saskatchewan, isn't it?
Hard to spell, easy to draw.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, that's right, though. I never heard that. How could I have not heard that?
You obviously have not listened to our
Winnipeg.
show very often because we call it that all the time.
Sorry, guys.
It's fair. It's fine.
Do you hate Saskatchewan more than Winnipeg? I assume you would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. They're right.
Mike,
Well,
I'm glad how you've just put your. Oh yeah. That's,
Oh,
there.
question.
Calling Bill for the GIF. Yeah.
Honestly, if Saskatchewan beats us, it will be as bad as the 1972 West Final, which people who are veteran fans have never forgotten the 72 West Final, where Saskatchewan was down. That was, by the way, the last time Winnipeg hosted a West Final, 72. Winnipeg was beating them 24-7. They came back and beat us on the last play of the game, which is an infamous play in Winnipeg history. I think Mike knows it. Superfan Mike's nodding his head.
Mhm.
The rider, his name was Jack Abenshaw, and he was trying to kick a walk-off winner. He missed the kick. The Bombers kicked it out. And when they tried to get the ball from Saskatchewan, they called no yards.
Yeah. So he got another kick.
They got another kick and won it.
Yep.
So that would just be abominable. But if we beat them and Toronto's playing, we've actually never beaten Toronto in the Grey Cup.
Oh, interesting.
Well, that's true.
Some of the Argos fans were trolling us. Oh, you've never beaten us in the Grey Cup. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
All right. So you're going all blue then too. That's interesting.
All blue.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
All right.
So there is a prop bet
Yes.
this
I
suggested.
was just gonna ask.
So a real simple one.
Okay.
It's a yes or no question. Does Mike O'Shea wear shorts?
I'm taking the yes.
-11 is apparently the forecast for Sunday.
I'm taking the yes on this. Commissioner,
I
what
love
do you
it.
got?
Oh, yeah.
You taking the yes? Okay. What do you think, Zach?
I hate to ruin the party, but I don't think he was wearing shorts in the last home game against the Ls. He wears these really ugly, like sort of khaki pants. He either wears the shorts or the khaki pants. So I think he's going to be wearing the Coach khaki pants. But if he came out in shorts, that would be absolutely epic.
Speaking of Dwayne Mandrusiak.
We should call the show Coach Khaki Pants. Oh my god, that makes me laugh so hard. So good. Okay, Superfan, do you have the yes or no on the shorts?
Not yes, but hell yes.
Okay, perfect.
I think you should. We need to do is set up a what's his record in khaki pants versus what's his record in shorts.
Ooh,
I think that'd be killer.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
good.
Who's
What if he wore like jorts or something, like jean shorts, or something totally random?
Oh,
Well, then a friend of ours.
yeah, I
would
was gonna
be
say,
very
Dolphs
excited.
would be so excited. He'd be like, "Yes, it's about time. It's finally catching on." Yeah. Oh my God, that's amazing. Well, before we go, fantasy side of things, super fan. As we said off the top,
Yes.
you did find a way to beat Safamod from the Piffles podcast to get into the semifinals, where you will meet the other compatriot of the Turf District podcast.
Oh.
It is the district battle in the semifinals. So
tell ya.
one of us is going to the final.
There we are. One of us can have the
Oh,
belt.
It's gonna be so awesome when you get it, and I'm standing there going, "Nice job, Mike. That's great." Yeah. The other semifinal has Joe from the Rouge, White, and Blue podcast. He'll take on Ryan from the Canadian Football Countdown. So make sure
Winnipegger.
exactly. He's had an amazing year in fantasy as well.
Well, they're both Bomber fans, right?
Oh yeah. We got Elks versus Bombers either.
All right.
Elks and Bombers and Bombers.
Is it 1990 or 1993? Let's find out.
93. Okay. Anyway, so make sure you listen to all those great shows at cfpodnetwork.ca. This episode is also brought to you by the Alberta Podcast Network. Check out the show Putting It Together. Each episode, Kyle Marshall and a guest take a deep dive into a different Stephen Sondheim song. I thought that was topical this week, as of course we send out our thoughts to the family of the great songwriter that passed away this past weekend. Kyle did a memorial episode. It's a little tough to get through, but it's definitely very passionate. And his back catalog goes through songs from West Side Story, Follies, and Company. Check out this and all the other amazing shows at albertapodcastnetwork.com. Just to make it more fun. Zach, thank you so much for joining us. It was a lot of fun. We had some great laughs. I hope you had a good time. And congrats again on finishing up your first year with your podcast. We're really enjoying it. So tell everyone where they can find you online and where they find your show.
Well, it's Bomber Podcast. I have to think about that. At Bomber Podcast on Twitter, not Bombers because it didn't fit. Bomber Podcast on Twitter. I'm on Instagram, Bomber Podcast as well. And then the show's on Apple, Podbean, Spotify, Google Play. Yeah, pretty easy to find.
Yeah, and it's called Let's Go Bombers.
I probably should have told you the title. Yeah.
I've-
Let's Go
You know what?
Bombers Podcast.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's veterans teaching rookies. That's how this works. This is what it's all about. Yeah.
Remember, note to self, if someone is ever silly enough to ask you on again, let's go Bomber. Know the title of the podcast.
Yeah. That's okay. Next week we're all taking bets on whether I even wear pants when we do this. It's shorts for Mike.
All right.
Pants is optional whenever we do this. Yeah. Right, Mike?
You don't even know what we're wearing right
I know.
now.
That's right. That's the best part. Yeah. Super fan. Where does everybody find you?
They can find me at 56 Parkies, and then the history and horde stuff will be at Edmonton History. That's at EDMHISTOREE.
Wonderful. Commissioner.
Nice, double E.
Yeah, you can find me at Duchess Lombardi. And don't feel bad, Zach. I think it took me a good year to get our former name down, so you're in good company.
Oh, that's so true. Yeah. What's our Instagram? Go, Commissioner. Yeah, it was always amazing. It's lovely.
They'll find
Yeah,
us.
exactly.
hard.
Make sure, of course, that you are following our good friends. I should put this up right here. There we are. Follow our good friends at Pay It Forward with Football. They are having the Stuff a Wallet campaign. Make sure that you jump on payitforwardwithfootball.ca, I believe it is, and or it might be .com actually, and donate to the Stuff a Wallet. It's super easy. I did it, and you can just pay right online through the website. Or if you have any gift cards lying around and you need to get those forward to somebody, get in touch with them, and we can make somebody else's Christmas brighter. As I said already, check out all the great shows on the CFPN at cfpodnetwork.ca and the Alberta Podcast Network at albertapodcastnetwork.com. Just change it up a little bit for you there, Mike. You're welcome. And,
Thank you.
join in the huddle with us at the Turf District. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We will be back next week to set up the Grey Cup game, and I am working on a special guest to talk about that.
Oh, excitement.
Fun. We'll see how well that goes. But that's what we're going to work on. Needless to say, thank you again for joining us. Thanks for joining us on YouTube and for watching the show live and downloading the show. Make sure you rate, review, and subscribe. Share and tell all your friends about the show, because we have more exciting things coming up that we are going to be talking all the Elks as we get into all of these hires and things once Grey Cup is over, because I assume it will not be long after that. So thank you again for joining us, Zach. So for Zach, Commissioner K, and Superfan Mike, I'm Andrew. Remember, you can't catch footballs with your face, and we will absolutely talk to you next week.